aspects. Can you speak more on Black Palestinians and how anti-Blackness is global? How do you feel capitalism and class also influence this ethnic nationalist fervor and settler militarism?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the question. And a few things come to mind. One is understanding that even within the state of Israel, there's deep racial inequality and racial hierarchy. Even within Judaism itself, within the framework of Jewishness within the state of Israel, there is racial inequality and racial hierarchy. So if you are an Ashkenazi Jew, a descendant of European Judaism, then you are at the top of that hierarchy. If you are a Mizrahi Jew or a Jew of color, you are below, in many ways, Ashkenazi Jews. If you are an Ethiopian Jew, for example, and this is to talk about class, many of whom, of course, there's forced conscription, but part of the appeal of fighting with the Israeli Defense Forces, Israeli military, is for economic opportunity. In a similar way that we have a kind of economic draft in the United States, kids don't want to kill people in places that they might hardly even know what's going on there. They want to go to college. They want to buy a house. They want to live a decent life. So what do you do in the United States? You go to the military, and many of whom come back don't even have those opportunities. So there's a similar racial hierarchy and inequality even within the state of Israel itself, and that's extremely important. The Jewish community, the Israeli community is not a monolith. That's important. If you are Afro-Palestinian, you are dealing with, Frances Beale, the great feminist, has this essay, Double Jeopardy, where she talks about what it means to have to fight both patriarchy and racism at the same time. If you're an Afro-Palestinian, you're dealing with many double jeopardies. You are not only Palestinian living under a brutal military occupation, an illegal brutal military occupation, also living under the ongoing effects of the Nakba in 1948, which was the foundation, the establishment of the State of Israel, where over 750,000 people were displaced. Over 400, about 500 villages were destroyed. This is the beginnings of the settler colonial project that is the State of Israel. Not only are you experiencing that, but you're experiencing also racism as a Black person. And you're experiencing racism both, of course, within the Palestinian community and I think that we should be very clear and okay with saying this, Palestinians are not perfect, like Black people aren't perfect. This idea that, there are some Palestinians that are also racist, also queerphobic, as if that's unique to Palestinians. There are Jewish people and Black people and Latinx people and Asian people and Buddhist people and Christian people who all practice these kinds of systems of oppression. But if you're an Afro-Palestinian person, you are experiencing a variety of different injustices all at the same time. Another thing is that it's important that I think, let's say, if you're still having trouble as a Black person, I hear you, there's Black people there, I feel bad for them. Of course, I don't want bombs being dropped on children, but we have so much to fight here, and I don't really have the capacity to be involved in the movement for justice in Palestine. One thing to understand is that the Israeli oppression is bound up within a broader structure of Western imperialism and where the United States is central. So we can look at the fact that the United States government funds the state of Israel to the tune of about $4 billion a year. That's about $10 million a day. If you pay taxes, then at least about $10 is going to the apartheid wall. It's going to tear gas canisters. It's going to Israeli military who brutalize, Palestinian children and Palestinian families. So what we're doing when we say no to the genocidal assault on Palestinian people, we're also saying no to the broader Western imperialist project that is engaging in genocidal assaults on people all across the world, that's engaging in occupations and settler colonial projects, even within the so-called United States of America, Puerto Rico, Guam, Hawaii. So that's another connection of thinking about global white supremacy and global imperialism and why it's so important. Because in many ways, what's happening in Palestine is but the sort of tip of the spear. It's sort of one of the most, not the only, but one of the most explicit ways that we see a spectacular form of the slow violence that happens every day in places that are often not seen in the media. So understanding global understanding white supremacy as a global phenomenon is extremely important, and I think it should lead us to understand that the fight against it should also be global.
All right. How are folks feeling? Yeah. I know it's a heavy topic, but you're all right. This is a space of joy. This is a safe space. You can feel.
There's cupcakes in the back.
There are cupcakes in the back. You listen to genocide and there's cupcakes in the back. We gotta live with that. This is America. So this is gonna lead into the general Q&A portion of the evening. So I already see you have your hand up. And someone in the back, so I'll put y'all on stack. So again, feel free to ask questions. We want to make sure, and then we'll probably go for about another 10-15 minutes. We don't want to keep folks too long with Q&As. And then again, we ain't gonna kick anybody out. I know I'm tired, but it's a good crowd, so we'll let folks stay as long as y'all want. Not too long, but as long as y'all want. So Miss, you can go ahead.
Okay. I have another comment, not a question.
Okay.
I forgot what homegrown raising is, so it's connected as well, because I don't think a lot of people know that the police state in Israel and American police forces are highly interconnected. One of the targets on the BDS list is a company called HP, laptops, printers, and printer stock, but like everything else like technology. And actually HP created a hyper surveillance facial recognition system that Israel uses at their checkpoints. And Israel's, I don't know, sold, contracted, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the specifics, but gave that technology to American police forces in their cop academies to train people to like be able to like facially recognize. And then that's what kind of like tangentially talks about when we talk about like policing clothing. When we talk about like what's the fucking called? Sorry. Shiesties are like people wearing facial masks, or like for like maybe like the first 6 months of COVID, Face ID didn't work if you wore glasses and a face mask, and then that technology was updated to recognize people's eyes, you know? So when we talk about like, when we say that we are anti-police, at least when I say I'm anti-police everywhere. And that includes in America, and that includes in the Zionist state of Israel. I just wanted to say that. I have much more points, but I'm going to let other people.
Well, to give you an even really close connection, New Jersey Transit sends their police over there. So, you know, it's not too much of a different thing there.
And who was
no, yeah.
I don't know if
if you want to jump in.
I don't know if this question really is for anyone in the room specifically, but I've been pretty I've been devastated, but at the same time I've been inspired in a way, because for the first time I feel like you know, we've been on a long road, whether you want to talk about like the Arab Spring and like the Occupy movement and Black Lives Matter and COVID, the pandemic. I feel like at this point in time, at least with the conversations I'm seeing on social media that I'm sure we're all seeing, we're seeing this global movement against not only Israel and the United States and Western imperialism and settler colonialism and white supremacy, but we're seeing these different people, regular people in conversation, whether it's in comment sections or on Twitter, and everyone's kind of making these connections. Like I spoke to someone in Pakistan that was talking about kind of how she's looked into the Black Power movement and has kind of started to kind of re-educate herself about her kind of anti-Black racism. And my question really is, in this moment where we're talking about everything starting to shift and change, how can we begin to ensure that not only do these protests across the world continue to happen, but that these conversations and these relationships continue to build and foster? Because as the presenter was talking about, and as everyone's been talking about, and Naya was talking about in the video, like this fight has to be global, and I feel like I've never seen this before, not that I've been around forever, and so I don't know, I just want to know how we can harness this in a way that allows us to take action together. I know there was the global strike, but really like in an organizing way, aside from the mass protests. How can we stay engaged in that way? And I'm not expecting anyone here to have a specific answer, but I just want to know kind of
I got you.
you know, what everyone has been thinking about that, because I feel like this really is a tipping point. And I feel like there's been so many things that we would have thought, but I mean, the United States is dealing in death and has always been. And what I feel like so many of us in the room have known, just by our circumstance, our race, our class, other people who have kind of unfortunately been gaslit by this myth of United States or U.S. supremacy or exceptionalism are starting to see, oh, like you guys are not that. We know that, but how do we continue to go, I guess? How do we?
So, you know, and I've been a community organizer since I was 16 in high school. I'm now 37. So there's a lot of different answers to them. One thing I'll say is all paths are valid. In this space, you have tons of organizers, and I'm not talking about like EJ organizers or Palestinian organizers. You got land workers, you got leftists, you got people from all of this. You got to plug in, you got to tap in, because that's the thing. You know, what I've seen, especially coming out of the George Floyd movement, it was great to have so many new organizers come in and feel and be activated during that time. And what happens is their energy gets co-opted into like bullshit movement work. And then you got to figure out, okay, you know, what's right for you may not be right for me, and vice versa. You have to find your truth, but you have to go out into the world and look for that truth. And you got to look at the organizations and what they're doing and how they're moving, how they spend their money, what programs are they putting on? Are they feeding the people while educating them? My biggest criticism with leftism in general was, it was this, either you're going to just feed people or we're going to sit in a room and read pamphlets. I was like, why can't we do both? And so, you know, and again, I'm not saying, and I always say this caveat, North Border Coalition is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of the work we do is sometimes messy, but we still continue to press forward. So figure out or looking kind of through those contextual lenses for who is doing the work and plugging into an organization, that's how you have long-term sustainability. And then the other thing about that is I always say, all these groups will tell you this is the right way to do it. That's not, if they knew the right way, we would have won by now. We haven't won. So nobody knows the right way. What we have to do is continue to evolve in the work. What I say every day is the game changes every day. Game changes every day. So how flexible is that organization? Are they adapting to the times? Are they sticking to their theory? They're sticking to their practice no matter what's going on in the world? That's not it. That's not it. And then to your point, what I love about this, and this time is different. What we're seeing in the world is different. You don't have to tell someone Marxist theory to say, all right, we're giving $100 million to Ukraine, but Americans in Hawaii are getting $700. The math ain't mathing. So now what that means is the base is broadening collectively. So there's a lot of people that want to do the work. But you have to understand it's all about, it's not just about today, it's not about yesterday, it's also about tomorrow and the future, and keep going over. That's why I say our work is about self-sustainability and moving that needle. I don't make any qualms. And I've always said this publicly. When you are an organizer, no matter what movement, you are putting your life on the line. So there's a lot of people that aren't ready for that conversation. And that's okay. I'm not saying that we all got to be there. What I'm saying is you have to understand, if you want change to happen, you can't just type about it. You got to be in these streets. And what being in these streets means, are you feeding people? Are you talking to your neighbors? Are you developing the political consciousness in your own network? And so there's so many different avenues, but again, to me, it really goes down to what is the truth that you are trying to find? And how do you fight in a way that's authentic to you? Because our struggles, or the way we struggle together, might be very, very unique and independent to the individual. But there's a lot of people doing work. You know, this event was organized with, I believe, 4 or 5 other organizations within Rutgers Newark the idea was to pull them out of the campus and into the community. So again, we start broadening the base, start having these conversations. And so for me, like I said, it's finding those who are doing the work, seeing, and just, you don't have to tap into them the whole time. You could come in, put your pinky in, it's like, this ain't for me, and keep it moving. But we have to be building organizations, because being that activist, it's good, it's great, people want a leader, but we all have that potential and capacity within us. And I always say, we don't need people to be on the bullhorn. Sometimes I need people making copies, on the phone, sending emails. There's so many different ways to fight. There's so many different ways to struggle. And it looks differently for all of us. My last point in this is this is the time. I said that earlier. This is the time where if you are about that life, if this is what you want, if you believe in your heart of hearts that liberation will happen in our lifetime, what are you doing to make that happen?
All right.
Other questions?
Can I add to that?
Go ahead.
Because, I think it's a wonderful question, but I think we also are seeing the evidence of decades of organizing today, right?
Yeah.
Because where we were when I was first learning about Palestine is not where we are today. We have Palestine Legal. We have so many SJPs across the campuses across the country, right? We have so many systems, legal systems, organizing systems, right, of support for people who are doing this kind of advocacy work that we didn't have 10 years ago. When I was an undergrad with my school, it was hell to talk about SJP or to talk about Palestine. We were constantly getting legal threats, physical threats, all these things, and we didn't really have those mechanisms, right, to fall back on. But because over the years, people have been building these systems of support, right? We're so much more well positioned this time around, right, to actually push back on these institutions, right? And the more that we continue doing that, the more that we allow ourselves to get to be organized, not just pull others into organizing, but to let ourselves continuously be organized, right? That is what allows these things to happen, right? And that's how you make these connections. I actually got connected to this event because of a friend who goes to Rutgers. I'm all the way in Harlem. I came all the way, I don't know anybody here. Hi, nice to meet you guys. But it's because of, the way that connections work in these kinds of spaces, right? That you're able to build community in such quick ways and build trust with one another in ways that are incredibly efficient, and just move the movement forward in the ways that we need it to happen. So,
I'd also just want to add, you mentioned how do you keep the momentum going? How do you turn protest into something? If it says right up there, this is New Jersey, $144 million of your tax money goes to funding all the occupation, all the horror you just heard about, right? I don't know if you've also heard NJ Transit's about to have a fare hike on buses, right? We don't have any public fare, right? All of that money that could be spent just to improve our lives, to make sure people aren't getting displaced, to make sure people can move around, is currently going to fund war crimes, constantly. And that's all your money. So how is it that you can keep it going? Focus local. All these problems are in fact right here. And a lot of the solutions to them are in fact right here. Yeah.
I did have a question earlier. Okay, so I'm studying psychology. I'm looking to transfer into Rutgers, and something that I've been looking into so much is I see across our community, and it's great to see a lot of young people, but I see a lot of undergrads, people who are 1 year, maybe 2 years into college, a lot of high school students who are so, not only kind of succumbing to propaganda, but also at the same time being fear-mongered by those in their community. I grew up in West Orange, and just a couple of weeks ago, there was this group of students who wanted to organize a pro-Palestinian protest, and they were threatened by, people connected to our town council, committee members who were appointed by council members. Parents came to the school without any kind of pass, and basically, appraising administration and telling them that they wanted them expelled or suspended for exercising their right to protest. And so something I've noticed in this kind of, and especially since, the social media, activism in 2020, I feel like a lot of young people who were, born in 2002 never, had the context of what was happening before 9/11, that led up to everything that we are seeing, and then the effects of that thereafter. How do we combat propaganda? How do we talk to, people who feel hopeless, but also at the same time they know what they're looking at is wrong and disgusting and horrible, but they feel hopeless? How do we empower those people so that they're not in that space? Because I feel like everybody knows that feeling of feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do, and then you get into community. But how do you get people who feel like talking to their local representatives doesn't mean anything, who feel like boycotting, if the store is gonna buy it, why don't I just buy from the store kind of thing, or whatever, is not worth it.
I think for me, being an organizer, what I've had to do early on is it's beautiful that this room is packed out. But if 5 people showed up, I'm here giving the same speech, giving the same presentation. A lot of us need to reframe what success looks like, especially under the lens of organizing. If I could save one family, if I'm giving out 1 gallon of water, that's good for me. And so operating at that level allows me to reframe what gives me hope, and then allows me to reframe what hope lies in others. Because a lot of people's like, oh, you gotta have 100 people, and I always say, rather organize with a strong 5 than a weak 100. And then we have to understand, right, if we are really talking about, and I cannot stress this enough, if we are talking about liberation and people are dying in the rest of the world, if I am truly about this life, if I have to hold that L of losing a funder, which I have, if I have to hold that L where we lose support, which I have, because we have to have the moral integrity in order to continue on, then that's what it is. Now again, not everybody's there. You're talking about high school kids who are like, and I definitely witnessed what happened there, and I was proud that they still went on with that event. But we have to hold them up as community. We are all here because in one way or another we agree with the liberation of Palestine. So in that regard, when we see an injustice happening in someone was just fired, they lost employment in Union City. We had some of the homies show up there. Holding this space with some of the people, across the campus to show that, again, you're not alone. Now everybody in this room here tonight understands you're not alone. Your voice is the voice in this room. You're part of a collective. And then that's what I feel like America does so well, this distraction game, imperialism, colonialism, capitalism, does this game of this experience, this human experience that we're all experiencing, it's not individualistic. This is a team game, life. And so reframing success, understanding that you're not alone, understanding the power of the collective voice, and understanding that when, the biggest thing that I do and can do as a leader is say, I don't got it, or I'm sad, or I'm depressed, or I'm going through anxiety, or I am human too. So that when other people are like, yo, I ain't got it, or I can't show up to that march, or I'm afraid, it's okay. We're human. But we have to understand that we're part of this together. And then the last thing is the consistency part. Is being consistent about in which level that you're choosing to engage. I can't tell you how many people. I'm going to come every week to give out water. All right, cool. I don't see them every week. And that's okay, I'm okay with that. I understand, life be lifing. But again, we got to be consistent. We got to reframe that success. And we have to admit, we're human. We our leaders, we hold them up to be superheroes, and it's so important to read their autobiographies, and people are like, damn, they've been through some real shit. We're all witnessing this together. So I think it's that hope, reframing what that hope looks like and being consistent in the way that you do that work is what helps. You know, it's not gonna be 100% of the way, but I think it at least, again, I've been organizing for a long time and it certainly helped me, and you know, this is what's allowed us to build what we've built. So we have time for like 2 more questions and then I'll let y'all cool out on the cupcake time. All right, any other questions? Yes.
So I have a question. So now that tax season is coming, like next year, knowing that my tax dollars are contributing this genocide, like, what does that process look like? Like, meaning like, do I do taxes? Do I not do taxes?
I am not.
Yeah.
I have a long history with the IRS. I have heard there are people preparing stuff on this. So what I will say is, you know, and again, I'm always one to be like, I don't know the answer, but certainly there are experts that know the answer. So if you want to leave your contact information, I could definitely tap you into some folks, because I know like that's such a big question for a lot of people, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to be complicit in this, so what can I do? And then, but you know, as things gear up, that's where you're going to see different moments. So please do follow up and leave your tax information. One more?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, we need to come together to heal and to, because of what you're saying, watching genocide on our phones. I teach at ECC, a lot of my students have been through genocide. They're coming from other countries, and not just a long time ago, but like 5 years ago, or 2 years ago. So, but we also need to stay fucking pissed because all of these, the fascism is just, they're amping it up day by day, minute by minute. The cops came after you again. I remember when the cops, or when Barack has sent us to shut down our anti-police brutality march during George Floyd, you know, and chased us down when we were trying to go in front of the 5th precinct. Barack sends his police to go to Lavo Spivey family and torture them for like 2 years. They tortured this family in the South Ward because their kids dared to like not let the North police kill them. And so we need to still stay really fucking pissed at the fascists that we have here, right? Because they're not just half a world away, they're here. It's Biden who's going to send our kids, our family, black and brown kids, over to fight whatever war that comes out of this that they're planning now to keep control of oil. So I want us to heal and feel good and feel community, but I also want us to stay fucking mad. Because that's
And just to that comment, I mean, we had a protest 3 weeks ago in the steps of City Hall where 50 to 75 cops raided our encampment. And so what I tell people is this is an example hyper-locally of what's happening on the global scale. And it's not murder yet. It's not murder yet. So with that, we'll have Erica close out with some words.
Hi guys, thank you so much for coming. I want to just start off by saying, in response to a lot of what you guys have said, one of my favorite quotes by Mariam Kaba, which is, hope is a discipline. And I think hope is something that we have to choose to chime in on every single day. It's not something easy. I think it's, especially in the kind of world we're living on where we're seeing genocide on our phone, it's really easy to lose a sense of hope that there's a liberated Palestine within our lifetime. But that is a discipline we have to engage in every day. And it's much easier to do that when you're in community, when you're pissed with people around you, when you eat together and scream about it and cry about it and then choose to get on the streets. So I just want to echo what everyone else has said, that stay organized, get involved with an organization, whatever org in your nearby area, but it will make a difference, whether it's 5 people or 100 people showing up. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you from the coalition that organized this. This was a coalition of student orgs from the undergrad, grad, law school.
Can you name the orgs?
Yeah, so the National Lawyers Guild from the law school, the Muslim Law Students Association from the law school, the Law Students for Justice in Palestine. We have the RU Undergrad, RU for Palestine, which is also a faculty org as well. And then we have the Newark Water Coalition, who has offered us this lovely space to do this. So thank you, Anthony. I just want
Jewish Voices for Peace.
and Jewish Voices for Peace, who, yeah. I also just want to leave us with one final thing. On Monday, the healthcare workers from the Rutgers Medical School is organizing a die-in at 4 p.m. in front of Penn Station at 1 Gateway Plaza. So this is an awesome opportunity. If you're able to get out there and join the medical school, bring your friends, bring your family, wear your keffiyehs, bring some signs, and I'm sure they'll have masks. So this is a great way for you to get involved. And we'll definitely be doing more teach-ins in the future in a series. So make sure that you sign in at the front, put your email down, and we'll send you guys updates on what we're organizing. And thank you so much for coming. Thank
Like I said, the space will be open, for at least another hour or so, so you don't have to rush out. Please connect, talk to your neighbor, talk to somebody that you don't know here. You never know, build with somebody. Thank y'all for coming out.